Alright, so since website is connected with the life of the Buddhas, right, and the enlightenment, and the birth, and the passing away, so probably I would share, this topic, which I think is very relevant, right, to our understanding of the historical Buddhas. Okay, yeah, did Prince Siddhattha renounce his royal life out of compassion or self-discovery? Okay, you see, here the words you find here got two different views. Okay, two different views. All these things found in the Pali Nikaya, right, on the nature of the Buddha's enlightenment, right? Whether the Buddha's enlightenment is for his own personal liberation, or his enlightenment is for liberating others. Okay, and yes, this is something very, very, very interesting, because if you look at the title suggests, right, out of compassion for the self-discovery, because this is more of the historical Buddhas. You see, his enlightenment, right, mainly for himself. Okay, so you find this kind of suttas, many suttas, right, to support these views also, right? And of course, next month I would also, quote from some of the Pali suttas to support the Buddha's enlightenment, right, is for the benefits of all beings. You see, so you can see these two contrasting views. One's for himself, right? Another is Buddha's enlightenment for himself, for others. You see, so these two different views are found in the Pali Nikayas. Okay, so some people will say, oh yeah, you see, Arahat is very selfish. You see, so is that true? Right, after his enlightenment, right, after his attainment of Arahatship, some later interpretation, right, say Arahat is very selfish, no compassion. Is that so in the Pali Nikaya? Right? So we are going to look at some of the suttas to support, right, the first part, that is the enlightenment for his own enlightenment, for his own benefits. Okay. Alright. Okay, now when we talk about the before the Buddha's enlightenment, you see, particularly in the Pali Nikaya, and you find the words of the Bodhisattvas. Okay, the Bodhisattvas. And you see, in Theravada Buddhism, the Bodhisattvas is someone, right, who aspire, wants to become the enlightened one, right? And of course, in Theravada, we recognize the Bodhisattvas. Okay, so it means that according to Theravada, he must receive a confirmation, right, or we call it a prediction from a living Buddhas. We know that the present Gautama Buddhas, he got his confirmation from the Dipamkara Buddhas, right, of his future enlightenment. So we will look into these things in our next sharing. So it means that for Theravada we recognize the Bodhisattvas, right? It means that you had to make a vow, over countless eons or the kalpas, right, to perfect himself, right? These 10 parameters. We talk about 10 parameters. We know that the word paramita is not very early Buddhism. Definitely, this idea of parameters, right, is the later development. Okay, development. So it means that when we look at this, the idea of Bodhisattvas in Theravada, it definitely has influence of the Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, Mahayana Buddhism talk about the 6 parameters. That for Theravada we talk about 10 parameters, right? So it means that you have to perfect 10 parameters, or the 10 perfection, right? In order to become a Buddhist, then you have to go through a countless eons and eons and eons, right? To complete the 10 parameters. All right. Okay, so yeah, this idea is understood, right? The Bodhisattva, you want to aspire to become the Buddhas, right? And we do recognize in Theravada of the ideal of the Bodhisattvas. And next, we look at in the Pali text. Usually, when you have the word Bodhisattvas, it refers to whom? In the Pali text, it refers to only two persons. One is the Siddhattha, the Gautama, right? Before his enlightenment, right? He used to address himself, while I'm still Bodhisattvas, right? So that word is found. Then another one is the Maitreya Bodhisattvas. Okay? Sorry. My sound is louder. So another one is Maitreya Bodhisattvas. We know that Maitreya Bodhisattvas, now, in the Theravada tradition says that now he's in the Tushita heaven, right? And then with regard to the description of the Maitreya Bodhisattvas is very rare, right? Not many description. Quite rarely you find the description of Maitreya Bodhisattvas in the Pali Nikaya. Okay, I think that in the Nikaya only one short description saying that the Bodhisattvas Maitreya will descend to the world, right? To come to the world when the human lifespan reach 80,000 years. So that's too beyond our understanding. All right. Now we look at the Bodhisattvas. You read the Pali Nikaya. The words Bodhisattvas, Buddha Tupi, right? To refer to his pre-awakening experience, right? It means that refer to Siddhattha experience before his awakening. He said, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unawakened Bodhisattva, right? So you find that the words that he used, okay, while he was striving for the enlightenment, he used a lot of Bodhisattva. While I'm still a Bodhisattva, while I'm still an unawakened Bodhisattva, right? So it means that the Bodhisattvas has to go through, the practice, right? And then through his own effort, right? And and finally you attain the supreme insight, acknowledged, and get enlightenment. Okay, so these are the Bodhisattva's ideal, right? Found in the early suttas. Okay, now here you look at one of the suttas, Samgarava suttas, right? From the Majjhima Nikaya. He also said, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened Bodhisattvas, right? Like you and I, we are all striving. So we also can be a Bodhisattvas, right? The one who striving for the enlightenment. But of course, Bodhisattvas in Theravada content mean refer to one who aspired the Buddha. Okay? In our case, we are not Bodhisattvas, right? We aspire because we are the disciples of the Buddhas. Our ideal attainment is Arhathood, right? Okay, so this sutta, Samgarava suttas, highlight the challenges of householders, right? Especially for lay people, right? Here the sutta describe, right, being an individual, okay, being a household family, right, with family, with responsibilities, right? For example, such as caring for children. It's very difficult to pursue the path of enlightenment, right? So it says that the true spiritual realization can only be attained through renunciation, through becoming a monk, right? By renouncing all the worldly attachment, right, and becoming a recluse, becoming a monk, committed to the holy life. Here it says, household life is crowded and dusty. Life gone forth is wide open, and it is not easy while living in a home to lead the holy life, utterly perfect and pure. Right? Why don't I shave off my hair and beard, dress in orchard robes, and go forth from the lay life to homelessness? Okay, so this shows that the renunciation is necessary. I mean, during the Buddhist time, right? To fully pursue the path of liberation, right? Lay life is difficult. Okay, yeah, this one is found in the Sangarava Sutras. Okay, now we look at another one. He said, before my enlightenment, he also said, while I'm still the enlightened, well, I'm still only an unenlightened bodhisattvas. Okay, the bodhisattva also, struggle with the unwholesome mental states, right? Like you and I, right? While striving for enlightenment, we have a lot of very unwholesome mental state, right? And that disturbs us. Yeah. So, for example, this sutta also said, the bodhisattvas also experience a lot of fear, right? While he was practiced alone in the forest, right? He practiced alone in the forest, right? Especially for one who lack of concentration, right? So you go to the forest, takut. Especially when you hear the sounds, at night, the ghost coming. Because you don't have concentration, so you have a lot of fears, right? Of course, you have this unwholesome mental state also arise, you see? Yeah. Okay, so he said, remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest are hard to endure. The jungles must rob a bhikkhu of his mind if he has no concentration. Right? So you can see that the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, right? He is also striving for his enlightenment. So he also experienced that kind of fear while he was practicing alone, right? Or practice seclusion in the forest, right? Yeah. Okay. Then this sutta also said, in another suttas, right, talking about the inclination of the mind, right? He said, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattvas. Okay, so not to say Theravada no bodhisattvas, right? People say, oh, Theravada no bodhisattvas. Yeah? Theravada got bodhisattvas. But this idea of bodhisattvas has to be emphasized, okay? Has to be clearly, explained in my next class. Why we have the idea of bodhisattvas in Theravada. Okay, so these are things that we have to go into it in our next sharing, right? Yeah, so from these suttas, right, we learn how the bodhisattvas, right, in his striving for enlightenment, he has, he developed a very clear distinction between the wholesome thought and the unwholesome thought, right? So he knows which one to cultivate and which one to abandon, right? In order to attain the wisdom, right? And this wisdom is the essential requirement for the attainment of Nibbana, right? So you see, in these suttas, right, while Bodhisattva striving for enlightenment, he discovered there are these two tendencies of thought. While he was meditating in the forest, he noticed that his thought divided into two distinct categories. One is wholesome one, another one is unwholesome one, right? So he knew that the wholesome of sensual pleasure, right? The thought of sensual desire, thought of ill will, and thought of cruelty. Cruelty here refers to the harmfulness, okay? As a thought of harming others, okay? Very cruelty, right? And then he also has another thought of the renunciation, right? Nekkhamma, right? And then goodwill, right? And then thought of harmlessness. So you can see that he has these two very distinct tendencies of thought within himself. Okay, so you see, while he was practicing in forest, right? He discovered that the first one, the thought of sensual desire, these are the unwholesome thoughts, right? Will lead to harm for himself as well as for others, right? So he stay away, right, from this unwholesome thought, because these unwholesome thoughts will obstruct the development of wisdom. Okay, so he reflect like this. He abandons such the unwholesome thoughts. Okay, you see, these are Buddha's striving. It's very important. Okay, so then it says that the bodhisattvas deliberately cultivate the second category of the wholesome thought, right? The thought of renunciation, the thought of goodwill, and the thought of harmlessness. Okay, now we look at these three thoughts, right? These are the good three thoughts. You see, why bodhisattvas practice the thought of renunciation, a nekkhamma. Here it says counteract desire. Okay, the reason we have desire is because we cannot meditate, right? We cannot focus, we cannot concentrate. Is because of the instigation or the of the desire, right? So that's why we have to develop the thought of renunciation. Earlier we talked about 5 types of renunciation, right? One is to become a monk. Okay, renunciation to become a monk, right? Another one is to attain the first jhana, remember? Attain the first jhana. Okay, and another one, the third one is to practice, cultivate the vipassana. Okay, then another one is to doing the what do you call the wholesome activities, right? And of course the last one is nibbana. You see, so these are the form of developing the what do you call this renunciation. So this one is to counteract the desire. So imagine that when you have attained the first jhana, you have already basically countered the desire. So yeah, this is one thing. Another thing is talking about this the thought of goodwill. The thought of goodwill here is the abhihapada. Goodwill here means that you develop the the thought of loving kindness. Okay, and with the thought of loving kindness, you can counteract, right, the ill will, isn't it? So you see, it's not to say that no, I'm a good Buddhist, I don't have any ill will towards others, I don't need to practice the loving kindness. No, right? Even for the Sotapanna, though they have already attained the first the sainthood, right? The first stage of sainthood, they still have to continue, to develop the loving kindness. Not only that, also the third one talk about the thought of harmlessness. You have to develop the compassion. You see? Okay? So it's very important. So you look at these 3 things, you see, this develop wholesome thought, in fact, related to the second view. The second is a right thought, okay, in this Noble Eightfold Path. Right? So this constitutes as part of the wisdom. When we talk about the wisdom, the first one is a right view, isn't it? Right view, and the second one is a right thought, isn't it? Right thought or the right intention or right thought. So you look at this wisdom aspect of this Noble Eightfold Path. The first one is a right view. Right view, what is the right view here? The right view is basically to abandon the self view. You see, the reason we have a lot of clinging, to the body, because we have the misconception or the misunderstanding of permanent, everlasting self inhibiting inside the body. Okay, so this is why we have to, develop the vipassana, right, in order to see things as they are, right? Okay, so as you develop like that, you see, so when times come, you see through, there is no self, right? So this is what we call the practice of vipassana, the practice of right view, to be able to see things as they are, right? So this is one of it. So these kind of defilements, wrong understanding of seeing things as they are is also considered as defilement. But this kind of defilement is a cognitive error. It means that we see things wrongly. Okay? Then the right thought is also to counteract the defilement. But this kind of defilement is not something to do with the cognitive error, right? It's something to do with the habits. Okay? Habits. The habitual tendency. You see? 我们的习气 habits. Okay? What kind of habits we have? We have the anger. We have desire. And we have cruelty. You see, so these are the very unwholesome thoughts, right? And it hinders our progress, obstruct our wisdom. So we have to develop, the thought of renunciation. We have to develop the thought of loving kindness, and we have to develop the thought of compassion. Okay, so to counteract these unwholesome thoughts, you see. So you can see that right view and the right thought. These are two types of the two branches of the wisdom aspect. Particularly to abandon two different categories of defilements. Okay, so once these two categories of defilements are abandoned, then you develop the wisdom. Okay, develop the wisdom. Okay, so wisdom is not to say that I become very pandai, I read a lot of books, I know better than you, I become very clever. No, right? So practice is not something, of course, knowledge is very important, but more important for the final liberation, right, is the abandoning of the defilements. Okay, abandoning of defilements. So we need these two aspects, right view and the right thought. Okay, now we also look at another one. This one is from the Mahasacaka Suttas, right? It describes how the Bodhisattvas, right, left his two teachers. We know that, immediately after the Bodhisattvas shaving the hair and the beard, right, he went to see two very famous teachers. One is Alara Kalama, right? Another one is the Uddaka Ramaputta, right? So these two are very famous teacher at that time. So the Buddha went to the Bodhisattvas went to learn from these two great teachers, right? And and of course Bodhisattvas learn very fast, right? Immediately he pick up the teaching and the master their teaching, but he still found that even though you have mastered all these things, achieved to the attainment that required, but still, the problem is not solved. Okay? What problem? Defilement is still not abandoned. You're still not able to see things as they are. Right? You just only can acquire a very sublime concentration. Okay, when you come to a concentration, everything remains the same. There is no improvement, to your own practice. So, the Bodhisattvas continue, to wander in search of a place. Now he's looking for a place now, not teacher. He is looking a place, right, to practice the ascetic practices. Okay, so last time we went to India, right? right? We visited the Uruvela, right? Uruvela. So this Uruvela is a small town near the Bodhgaya, right? And according to the suttas, this is a very conducive place for his pursuit of enlightenment. So what is the description? He said, I saw an agreeable piece of ground, a delightful grove with a clear flowing river, with pleasant, smooth banks, and nearby a village for alms resort. And these wells serve for the striving of a people intent on striving. Okay? Then we continue. Alright, so you see, Bodhisattva prepared, for the practice now. Right? So he thought, okay, how should I practice? You see, so he was contemplating, how to start his spiritual practice. Then suddenly, in the same sutta, it says there are three similes. Arose in his mind, and it says that these similes that he had never heard of before. Anyway, we skip the first and the second simile. We look at the third simile, right? It says that in the third simile, he said, a third simile occurred to me spontaneously. Suppose there were a dry piece of wood lying on dry land, far from water, and a man came with an upper fire stick. Okay, you see the wood on the dry land, and the man came with the upper fire stick, thinking, I shall light a fire, I shall produce heat. What do you think? Akivesana, could the man light a fire? You do like this, straw the. Then yes, Master Gautama. Why so? Because it is a dry piece of wood, and it is lying on a dry land far from water. You see, immediately the Gautama Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, right? He concludes, this is the only way to achieve the enlightenment. Through what? Through the extreme asceticism. Asceticism. According to the simile he said, right? It was through this severe practice of asceticism that one could completely abandon defilements, right? Okay? In order to attain the supreme enlightenment. Okay, so this simile, this is a very important simile. Right? So this simile provides the bodhisattvas, right, with the path of realization, right? It means that the enlightenment could only be possible, right, through the intense practice of torturing the body, right? Okay, yeah. So why he has that thought of torturing the body is because coming from this simile, right? So you can see that the Buddha's enlightenment only concerned for himself, not for others, isn't it? So this is one aspect of it. And all right, so we see how he started, his extreme, painful striving. So it says that he took a very little food, a handful each time, right, until his body is completely, withered and shrinking. You see, look at the statues. You see, it says, because of eating so little, my belly skins adhere to my backbone. Thus, if I touch my belly skin, I encounter my backbone, and if I touch my backbone, I encounter my belly skin. This is already the extreme already. And because of eating so little, if I defecated or urinated, I fell over on my face there. And because of eating so little, if I try to ease my body by rubbing my limb with my hands, the hair rotted at its root fell from my body as I rubbed. This is already not so serious. You see, this is just about to start the extreme asceticism. Yeah? But anyway, just to let you have the feel of it, how the Buddha's striving to get enlightenment and through these extreme ascetic practices. And he thought this could only be the way to the enlightenment. Okay, as the simile hinted. Okay, so you see, about striving through all this extreme practice of asceticism, you see, eventually the bodhisattvas also, did not attain any superhuman state. They still remain the same. Okay, still remain the same, right? Not any, not attain any what they call the superhuman qualities yet, right? So he reflected like this. I thought, whatever recruits or brought me in the past, or in the present, or in the future, that I have experienced painful, due to exertion, the Buddha said, the Bodhisattva said, this is already the outmost. There is none beyond this. Okay, so what I have gone through is already considered the outmost already. Nobody in the past or in the future have experienced. So he said there is none beyond this. But by this painful practice of asceticism, I have not attained any superhuman state. I have not attained any distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the Noble One. Could there be another path to enlightenment? Right. So this is the sutta description. Right. So you see, at this point, he was, he started to question himself. Right. The efficacies, okay, of this practice. That's why he wondered, is this path that I practice truly effective? Or is there any other way? He was thinking, is there any other way, to the enlightenment? So he's keep asking himself, am I practice wrong? Okay, yeah. All right. So you see, in this Mahasacaka Sutta, yeah, he said, I recall what he was thinking. Okay, he said, I recall that when my father, the Sakya, was occupied, while I was sitting in the cool shade of a rose apple tree. That was when he was young time, right? Accompanied his fathers to attain the flying ceremony, right? Yeah. You see, he has the experience of attaining into the first jhana. Okay, so how's the experience of the first jhana? Right, secluded from the sensual pleasure, secluded from the unwholesome states, I entered and dwelt in first jhana, which is accompanied by thought and examination, right? Accompanied by the vitaka, vichara, with rapture and happiness, with piti and sukha, right? Born of seclusion. Could this be the path to enlightenment? Okay, so you see, while he was contemplating, how should I move forward, right? Then it says that suddenly these kind of memories arose, right? Yeah, then he said, aha, yeah, this is indeed the path to enlightenment. So you can see, the bodhisattvas, he recalled, when he was young time, the experience of the first jhana, that kind of transformation. Elated, So it's no more like you have to torture the body. The quality for the enlightenment is like you are having this vitaka, vichara, the piti, sukha, and the concentration. You see? So of course, in the same suttas also, he articulate, then very soon, you see the Bodhisattva, what they call the Bodhisattvas, he recollect the method of the practice, right? Like the breathing in and out, right? The 16 stages. So very soon it says that he attained the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. And then he realizes, right, 3 vijjas. Okay, it says that during first watch, the first watch is from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Right? He acquired the knowledge of the recollection of past life. And during the middle watch, right? Acquire knowledge of the passing away and rebirth of beings. And the third one, right? Acquire knowledge of the destruction of of all the taints. Here taints are referred to defilements. Okay? Yeah. So finally, right? He acquired the liberation and knowledge of liberation. He said, birth is destroyed. The spiritual life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being. No more coming back already. Okay, so that is to say he realized, attained Nibbana, Mahabharata Nibbana. No, Nibbana. Okay, right? So, yeah, so these are the, what do you call the path to the Buddha's enlightenment. Right? So it's very clear the importance of the jhana mentioned here, right? Okay. So now the question is, okay, now let me see. What motivated the Bodhisattvas, right, to go forth in search of enlightenment? What motivated him? What motivate you to come to practice meditation? The same question is asked, right? What motivate you to come to Sudhamma? Oh no, to come to practice Buddhism. What motivate you? I think this kind of question is also asked, right? It said, the Buddha also said, because before my enlightenment, I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva. I too, being myself subject to birth. So what was also subject to birth, being myself subject to aging, sickness, death, sorrow, and defilement, I saw what was also subject to aging, sickness, death, sorrow, and defilement. Yeah. You see, the Buddha was a prince, right? He was, before enlightenment, he was a prince, and he lived in a very comfortable palace, right? When he went out, you saw the 4 different scenarios, right? The old people, sick people, dead people, right? And he asked the Chanda, am I also one day like them? Okay, yeah. So he got a bit, that disturbed his mind. Am I one day also die? One day also sick, looks very ugly. So he has so much worry in his mind, asking himself, right? Yeah. So this is the reason motivated him to become, to become a samana, right? And it also say in the sutras, right? The Buddhist, the Prince Siddhattha, he saw the samana, right, of a very serene posture, walking very, very mindfully, quietly, begging for food. He was so much inspired, seeing the sight of the samanas, right? So you can see that, from this sutta, you can see very clearly that, the Buddhist enlightenment or the path to enlightenment is not driven, right, by a desire to help others. Right? At least, not at this stage yet, right? So you can see that the Buddha's enlightenment, his personal, is entirely through his own practice. He learned from so many teachers, and go through all the hardship, torturing the body, go through all the severe ascetic practices, right? He gave up. Definitely not for others, right? So you can see that, he was practicing all these things because he wants to get rid of the suffering. He wants to overcome, the aging, the sorrow, death, etc., etc. He wants to overcome all these things. So he think of himself, not for others. Isn't it? It's very clear, isn't it? Okay. So now we have quoted several suttas. So I think it's quite clear, right? What motivated the bodhisattvas to go for from what? From the cycle of the birth, aging, etc., etc., right? So you can see that the the bodhisattva's concern was entirely for his own realization, not for others. Okay, not for others. That's why there was Tibetan scholars. His name is called Wanchuk, right? And he in his PhD research, he writes. He said there is no canonical evidence for the theories that the main motive for the Buddha's appearance in the world was for the sake of others. And this idea is found only in the post-canonical literature, and the overwhelming majority of the canonical material suggests that he was concerned with his own liberation. Okay, yeah, and of course, as we move into the later text, if we look at the later text, even Pali Nikaya, you see, in the Digha Nikaya, you find many texts also added in the later period also. You cannot reflect original text. It definitely has the materials, from other school of thought, like the Mahayana school of thought. Okay, and there was happened after few hundred centuries, or 200-300 centuries of the Buddha's passing away. So you find the influence of the Mahasanghika's thought, right? So, and you can see that during this time, within even the Theravadas, they start compiling the life stories of the Buddhists, right? And even the past life of the Buddhists. So you find, like in the Digha Nikaya, the Buddha Vasa, and the chronicles of the Buddhists mention of many Buddhists, even mentioned about the life of many past Buddhists, etc., etc. So you find that all these suttas, the description of many past Buddhists were in fact influenced by the Mahayana school of thought. Okay, so this part we will share in the next session. But today we talk about the suttas only concerned for himself, his enlightenment, not for others. Okay, now we also look at it. Here, the Buddha's attitude of lack of concern for others, right? We can see, from this sutta, right? It's from these Arya-Pariyasana suttas. Right? You consider. These suttas say, soon after his enlightenment, the Buddha was quite reluctant to teach. Okay. Yeah, because it says that after Buddha's enlightenment, right, his mind was inclined towards inaction, not active. Yeah, because he noticed that people don't understand his teaching. So if you go out and teach, nobody understands, and he felt very tired, very troublesome, isn't it? Like you and I, if you're going to teach to the young kid of what is a Four Noble, Three Noble, Eightfold Path, they don't understand, right? So it becomes very tired for you. So you better don't talk. You better don't talk. So rather felt contained, at peace with his own liberation and quietly. That's why this is the earlier description. Right? The Buddha has no any intention of preaching to anybody. Alright. But you see the reason for Buddha hesitation to preach, right? The Buddha is reluctant to teach the Dhamma. That's why in the Pali commentary it says, that the sutta says, okay. To me, this also added in the later periods. Like I said, the Brahma Sampati, right? I think we know Brahma Sampati, right? Appeared before the Buddhas, right? And asked the Buddhas, out of compassion for all beings, and asked him to share the teaching. And the Pali commentary said, the Buddha's hesitation to preach is due to his survey among people who cannot understand the profound teaching, such as dependent origination that he realized, and the people were under the influence of defilements also. Or Mara, they talk about Mara. Yeah. And of course, Buddha was will be very, very tired and troubled, perplexed, or troublesome if others should fail to understand the profound teaching that he had realized. Yeah, this is the kind of attitudes of reluctant to teach found in the Pali text. But this kind of attitude is not found in other Buddhist tradition. Interesting, no? So it means that there must be something disagreement on these things. Okay, because why in Theravada text, this kind of attitude, reluctant to teach, is found in the Pali text, but not in other tradition. Okay, you see, like in the Mahayana tradition, right? There is a belief that the bodhisattvas, right, who has, practiced over countless eons and kalpas, right, perfecting the paramitas, right, for the benefits of all the beings, right. So that's why when you come to this world, the purpose is to benefit others, not to torturing himself, because he's now ready. Coming to this world, during his last life, he is ready, to benefit all the sentient beings. So you can see this very two contrasting views are found in the Pali Nikaya. So when you are looking at the early Pali source, we have to be careful also. Okay, whether this idea is a Mahayana idea or this idea reflects the original teaching. And because you look at the Theravada Pali text is not reflecting the early teaching. Yeah. Okay. Because the Theravada is also a sectarian school developed in a very much later period. Okay, now we talk about the compassion, right? Because we are talking about the Buddha's concern only for himself, right? Then the Buddha, after his enlightenment, he listened to the Brahmasamapati pleading and out of compassion for being, I survey the world with the eyes of the Buddhas. Okay? So you cannot say that, because of Buddha's enlightenment, only concern for himself, right? He has no compassion. No, this is not the case, right? Yeah, because the Buddha knew that nobody will understand his teaching, so he was very tired, right? So it's better he remain contained in the meditation, right? But because of the request from the Brahmasamapati, he surveyed the world. He noticed that there are still beings who can understand the teaching, right? So, yeah, he said there are 4 types of beings, similar to 4 types of lotus flowers. He said the lotus that grow in the mud, but are above the water. Okay, yeah, it says that there are people, right, still understand his teaching, and ready to hear and understand the Dhamma, right? Then he said lotus that grow in the water but are not above the surface, right? So it means that they are still, covered a bit by the ignorance and the attachment. Yeah, they might not be yet ready, right? But there is this potential, right, for them to grow, right? Eventually emerge from the muddy water. And there is lotus that are completely submerged in the mud. Okay, so here refer to the types of being completely covered by the ignorance, craving, and they are not ready yet. And you also find a lotus that are totally grown and fully above the surface of the water. Here refer to the Arahat. refer to the Arahant. So he said, yeah, there are people who can understand this teaching. And then he started showing the compassionate. So he non-stop, wandered for 45 years to preach the Dhamma. Okay, so this is to show the quality of compassion inherent in the Buddha's attainment of full awakening, or even for the Arahant. So even the Arahant also, right? Even we know that the first Vasa, right? 60 months spend their time, 3 months Vasa, retreat. And then after spending 3 months, they all got enlightenment, become an Arahant. And the Buddha told them that, not two in one direction, but each one of you, right? 60 Arahant, each one of you go to different direction to teach the Dhammas out of compassion for beings, to sentient beings. So this is to show what? This is to show Arahant is also very compassionate. You cannot say that Arahants are selfish, they don't care for others. This is not true. This is also due to the later development. Okay, but you look at the early suttas, there is no such description. Okay, Arahant is also very compassionate. And even for the lay people, for the unenlightened monk. Okay, here the example here from the Jina Suttas, Mahakashapa. We know Mahakashapa, he was the Kushiti, the Duttanga, the foremost in Duttanga. And he, the Buddha asked, when Mahakashapa was old, right? The Buddha asked him, okay, now you can give up, the ascetic practices, right, and stay in a monastery, right? Because there are many young monks who can take care of you. And the Mahakashapa was very compassionate. He said, no. I choose solitude, in the forest because, for the sake of later generation. Because I have compassion for later generation. So you can see it. Kashyapa also expressed his compassion for the later generation. So he said, may those of later generation follow my example. He wants the Buddha Sasana to endure for a long periods of time. That is also his compassion, isn't it? No. So when they hear the enlightened disciples of the Buddha's word for a long time forest dwellers, expert interest of the forest dwelling, then they will practice accordingly, and that will lead their welfare and happiness for a long time. You see, the Kashyapa, he showed by example. You see, why I remain in the forest, practice all these things, because I want to show a good example, and to make sure that the Buddha Sasana endure for a long time. And of course, at the end, the Buddha says to the Venerable Kashyapa, he said, good Kashyapa, right? You are practicing so well, right? For the welfare and happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world, right? For the good welfare and happiness of devas and human. So also Buddha praised him so much. Not to say that Arahant is selfish, no. They're also very kind, compassionate. And this one is also for the lay people, for the ordinary monk. Ordinary. You see, the Buddha also instructed ordinary monk, right, to show compassion to the lay people, right? Not to say, stay in the room whole day, no. Ordinary monk has to come out, right, to show our compassion, right, to the lay people. So this one found in the Anguttara Nikaya. It said 5 qualities of a monk who show compassion to the lay people. Right? For example, the first one, right? He encouraged them in regards to virtuous behavior. It means that to lead a virtuous life, by observing the 5 precepts, right? And then the second one, settle them in the vision of the Dhamma, means help them to understand better the profound teachings of the Buddhas. And then the third one, when they are ill, right, he approached them and aroused mindfulness by saying, let the Honorable One establish mindfulness on that which is worthy. Okay, so it means that when lay people sick, alright, and monks should go to them and help them, okay, reminding them of staying mindful, right? Okay, okay, yeah. So this why sometimes when people invite monks to go to the hospitals for blessing, this is also a gesture of compassion, isn't it? And the Buddha also said, you treat the sick, also you treat the Buddha, right? And you heal the sick. So it's then the fourth one, when a large sangha of bhikkhu has arrived, including bhikkhu from various states, he approached lay people, informed them, "Friend, a large sangha of bhikkhus has arrived, including bhikkhus from various states. Make merry. It is an occasion to make merry." Okay, so sometimes you receive the monks are saying that don't miss the opportunity. Please come to the temple. Do merit now. This is also the act of compassion. So in the Sudama also, right? You have monks coming to stay here. Then you announce in the chat group, okay, please, if you have time, please come here, right, to do dana. Yeah, gentle reminder of people coming to do danas, right? And to make merry, yeah. And of course, the last one, right? It means that you cannot be so fussy, right? Whatever the foods that offered to you, right? Whether it is a very simple one or it's very excellent, and of course, he shouldn't waste what has been given to him or out of faith by the lay people. Okay, so we are not choosing. Whatever the foods offer, take it. You cannot say that, I don't like to eat this, don't bring this, I want to eat this, you have to bring, cannot. So this is also the act of compassion shown to the lay people. Okay, okay. Finally, conclusion. So if we look at the early Pali discourses, right, of the Bodhisattvas striving or struggle for the enlightenment, we don't see the types of concern for others, right, as the primary motivation for the Buddha's awakening, right? So you can see that from the early suttas that I quote, right, he's focused only on his own liberation. It means that he was concerned only with his own liberation, freedom for himself, right? But of course, that doesn't mean that he was no compassion, right? Because the qualities of compassion, right, for all beings or concerning for others, right, will come automatically, spontaneously, once you achieve enlightenment. For the Buddhas, for the Arahant, they come spontaneously, naturally, right? Not to say, you become Arahant now, you are very ego. Cannot. So that comes naturally, okay? Yeah. So it means that the compassion for others comes after the Buddha's enlightenment, or once you become an Arahant, okay? So so these are the things, and also include the attitudes of monks towards the lay people, right? Okay. So we conclude today's Dhamma sharing. So you understand the aspect of the Buddha's enlightenment, not for others but for himself only. Then next sharing for others.